as we move closer to the November 3rd election, it seems more and more attention's being paid for these crackpots on the right who call themselves, well, there's a lot of, I mean, if you're on the right, you're pretty much not all there. At least the radical right. But this group called QAnon, and it's so far off its rocker nuts. It's hard to even think that that is actually something serious, or it's even taken seriously. It seems like it's something that's almost a parody. And anyway, I looked at this CBS report yesterday. They had some discussion about QAnon and what it is and how come it's gotten such a foothold. And of course, weird and far out conspiracy theories and weird ass movements are largely a result of the internet these days. Yeah, there were far radical outfits way back when, and I'm thinking of the John Birchers, because this is kind of an outgrowth of the John Birch Society and other outfits that engage in conspiracy theories. But the internet is really responsible for getting people together, and it's making it more vocal. In the old days, they were kind of on the fringe. It would be like word of mouth, how they would get a foothold in politics. It was all mostly word of mouth, articles, you know, some books, stuff like that. But now the internet just makes it so much easier for these wacko groups, and yes, in some they're even downright dangerous, as we see with that a kidnapping attempt or plot to kidnap Governor Gretchen Whitmer of Michigan. But this was a good report, and it's just off its rocker. I just don't get it at all. Like Trump is supposed to be like Superman. He's going to save the country from these Satan-worshipping pedophiles that are running a global child sex trafficking ring. And it's just it's a bunch of horse shit. I can't believe anybody believes that. But you know what? Here in Oregon, incumbent Jeff Merkley's opponent in the fall election is one of these QAnon crackpots. I think their name is Joanne Perkins. She has utterly no chance to unseat him, but it's the idea that she would even be taken seriously. That's really the story. And there are all kinds, and there's a lot of these that are running around. Well, look at Trump. He refuses to disavow it. He caters to it because that's part of his base. And I'm reminded every time I hear about these QAnon things, I'm always reminded of Richard Hofstadter, who was a historian who was born in 1916 and died in 1970 of leukemia. But he didn't live to be that old, but he was quite distinguished. This was one of his most famous essays. It was originally published in Harper's Magazine. You have to pay to access that online. But this is like the full version that's in the book of the same title. And so it's like 40 pages. But he talks about the history of this paranoia in politics. And of course, what got him into writing about it was Barry Goldwater. And Barry Goldwater at that time, now this tells you how screwed up our politics is today. He was considered far right in the 60s. And he didn't disavow the John Birch Society. And so this, and the Birchers, of course, were and are notoriously conspiracy-oriented. And this is what prompted him to look at various conspiracy movements throughout American history, and he called it a paranoid style. Even he used the word paranoid, which is more like a psychiatric term to describe what these people are. But it's always worth a read. I haven't read it recently, but that's what I remember about it. And it's one of the most famous essays, probably political essays ever written. And then so there's that. And then I was listening to Talking Head Mike Malloy the other night, and he was talking about a new book that is out, and it's by John Dean and Bob Altemeyer, and it's called Authoritarian Nightmare, Trump and His Followers. And I just happened to get it, and now it's $14.99. I think it was $1.99 is what I paid for it the other day. So they had like a sale price or something on it, but now they've changed it. And I didn't want to wait for the hardcover, but I'm starting to read this to try to understand why it is Trump has a following at all. And John Dean, of course, he was the famous Watergate figure, and of course he does a lot of commentary. He's written a lot of books. And then Bob Altemeyer is, let's see, yeah, he did research on psychological makeup of authoritarian leaders, and then he developed a questionnaire which purported to determine if somebody has right-wing authoritarian beliefs. And you don't have to be a politically right-wing. You could be left-wing, and we see a lot of this. Left-wing that's authoritarian. But it's considered, he calls it right-wing authoritarian. And I've taken that test, and he helped develop it in the 1980s. It seems like it was longer ago than that. But I took that years ago, and it was probably a connection with a psychology class. But then I took a version of it again online the other day, and I scored a 14.6% on the authoritarian scale. But they say that these people that follow him, and they'll follow him no matter what, they have an authoritarian mindset. And I could go into more detail about this, what constitutes an authoritarian mindset. But it's just interesting how absolutely unhinged these people are, and you can't reach them. And I remember Michael Moore. He was bellyaching about Hillary Clinton's quote-unquote loss. I mean, she only lost the Electoral College, and that was, 77,000 votes? Something like that. And that's highly questionable. In Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin, all three states will probably go to Biden this time. But he would blame her, and how we need to pander to the white dudes, these people that are the white male dudes that make up the base of Donald Trump. But you can't. You can't do it because they're of such a mindset. You can't change them because they think they should be on the top. And when you think like that white males are better, that they're better than everybody else, there's no reaching them. And so, anyway, yeah, I'm going to continue to read this book. And I'm reading about 4 or 5 books simultaneously, but this one is an easy read, and I'm somebody that likes to skip around and read different parts of the books rather than just beginning to end. So anyway, I thought I'd put that in there, that look for more paranoia the closer we get to the official election day. Even though millions of votes have already been cast, they're trying to people connected with Trump, they're trying to taint Biden with more quote-unquote scandals and big scandals, and it's all falling flat on its face. So, anyway, that's all I have to say about that, and I'll put some links into the various things